The battle is on every single day. All the sales folks, all the recruiters, the whole business world is always looking for the freshest and the possible ideas of how to get the best possible lead through the best intent signals. Hey, it's a lot like going out there and trying to buy the newspaper. Why do we want the paper? Why do we watch the news? Because we want the freshest information that can possibly affect your business, other things in your life. But in this case, we're going to talk about how to generate fresh leads with real intent signals. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we use our out-of-the-box thinking to get the best possible signals in the market, to get the freshest possible leads with the best intent signals, so our competition is left in the dust. How do we do this? So we start brainstorming. Instead of trying to scrape data from either Apollo or the same old job postings, which only by itself is not the worst possible situation, but we want to get even closer to the freshest possible leads. So in order to do that, we have to start thinking outside the box. So here's one scenario that we've been able to come up with our clients, where they are looking for ways to quickly place virtual lawyers for those attorneys that are currently in need. You can, of course, go out and try to scraping new jobs and other modalities or brainstorm through the process of finding and identifying leads. But we find even a better way to do so. So here's the first way we do. What's the big idea? Let's look at attorneys that are currently filing lawsuits against a defendant or those attorneys that are the actual defendants. As soon as attorney of record files their appearance in court for a specific case, depending on the size of the firm, you will most likely have a lot of paperwork, a lot of discovery, a lot of depositions, and you just might require additional help that would otherwise take months, weeks to hire, interview, and then who knows if they're going to succeed. But cases come up and discovery processes are always dynamic. So you want to be able to hit exactly in the sweet spot when a particular law firm or an attorney is going to need outside help. Regardless of the size, if they're a smaller firm, they have no time to go out and hire new people. So we're here to give them an opportunity to hire candidates that are pre-vetted, that are currently or in the past have worked on cases, and snap of a finger they can hire them. That's the ease. But the whole point is not what we can do for them. But first, let's identify how we are able to see if someone is looking to hire. For example, to Court Listener, excellent site. It actually gives you live signals, daily signals, all of the cases that are currently being filed in the system. So let's look at a case here. And of course, we have a subscription here, but more importantly, we set it up in a way where we're able to receive all of this information. Let's pick a case here. Fresh case, August 12th. We can see copyright infringement, plaintiff, parties, Best Western International, Acton Auto Clerk, attorneys, looking McHenry. We need to take a quick look here, use the proper keywords. So we want to eliminate any cases that are filed by the U.S. government against the U.S. government. So we're not interested in those cases because a lot of the other party is going to be government and they're not going to hire additional people because they have enough of a budget. You can see that all of the information is available here. Who has filed the lawsuit, who the attorneys are. It's all right here. So this is really interesting information. Fresh off the press, you're able to see exactly who the plaintiffs and the defendants are and who the law firms are that have filed for this case. So now you have a real live lead that you can contact. Let's go to the next step of where the information is coming from. From Court Listener, it's a small subscription fee. I believe it's almost or a little bit under $100, which is not a lot, but you get all this fresh data. And it's a lot more indicative, actionable, otherwise from the other sources that you may be scraping, where everybody is looking at the same information. Apollo, LinkedIn, yes, those are great. That's tertiary data, or I should say secondary data. We want to get to the freshest, off-the-press information. This is how we get there. The next step we're going to take a look at is we're going to filter the data because, hey, you may have tons of cases and tons of people we may not want to contact for various different reasons. If they're a huge firm that has thousands and thousands of attorneys with multiple partners, they may not need us. So let's go to the next step and see how we're going to identify this data. use, one of the best tools to use for chopping up data, enriching data, and just putting everything under one roof. So you don't have to have multiple subscriptions. You have everything under one roof where one person can control all of the workflow, all the data flow, and you can sculpt it in a way that gives you the identical results. So here's a table we created that pulls in data from the webhook. If you remember, we pulled in data from this particular site. We set it on automatic. So every day you can see it's pulling data, July, August, take it to the last possible date here, and you can see that it has scraped all of the opportunities and all the data. So we've been scraping for a while now, and you see here we've gotten all the way to August 17th. Today is August 17th. So even on the weekend, we're getting some signals, which means that you can react to this data first thing in the morning before any of your competitors do. And here you have all of the alerts that were pulled using a webhook. What else do we have here? We have the payload, which is the data that it pulls as a result of us building this webhook. You have all the data strangely arranged in language we don't understand, but because we're able to dissect and open this data in JSON format, then translate it into normal language, we're able to see all this information. So moving on. So we'll continue filtering. So here's a table we've built in Clay, which contains webhooks, the actual cases. So it massages the data and pulls it piece by piece, row to row, column to column. So we're able to see exactly who the stakeholders may be. So we have the case name, as you can see here, for example, Procter & Gamble, Foster. We don't know who Foster is, but we'll find out what this is all about. So here we have the attorney of record, okay? We even have the court. And more importantly, we have the website, or I should say the LinkedIn, the URL of where this court case exists, and so on and so forth. We then go and clean the data, and we take out all the unnecessary that does not belong to what we are looking for, such as the size of the firm, making sure that these are not federal government cases. We're only primarily interested in private parties, including but not limited to corporations versus individuals, individuals versus corporations. So we can get all this data here. We then move to the actionable. Again, we scrape further, and we have all the links here. As we open it up, we have the site, we have all of the particular data that points exactly in the section that we are looking for. So you have the opinion section. We then keep moving along, and we are able to give an instruction to 4.0 Mini ChatGPT, and we're asking it here in a nutshell, how do we gather additional information? So here we're asking it for attorney's name, for their phone number, read the provided court listener content. So all of this information is given in a prompt to a large language model, which lives inside here. You have your own key, so you don't have to spend money outside of your table. So now, as you can see, it starts to return the phone number, who the attorney is on record. All the information is here, their address, the name of the attorney, their phone number, the name of the firm. It looks like a small firm. And here we did all this for, where's that, 1,000th of or 1,000th of a penny. I mean, it's ridiculously cheap. So you can probably enrich this whole row for $10 or less, $6, $7. But let's keep moving on. Push this data. Now that we have pushed this data and into our Clay table, we are now moving along. So we pushed it to Clay. Now we're going to enrich the data. So what does that mean? Now that we have been able to create an additional table from which all the data here, which is kind of raw, and it comes from a webhook, gets pushed to this particular table. This table here, we are ready to pull the names, the addresses, and you can see here that we continue to use AI with the proper instructions. We're asking the LLM to go find the law firm, the full name of the attorney, and we're requesting output in a JSON schema, which means that we're able to select exactly the row that we want to push to the next column so that we can understand if it's a law firm or a person. We then get the law firm requesting by LLM again. We're asking to please find the name of the firm with the example output. So we want all of this information. Again, give us the cleanest possible form of the firm, law firm, the name, the phone number, and their address. Continue with the enrichment of the data. Again, we use a waterfall method. So you have all of the providers all in one place, all of the data and all of the providers and all the vendors and all the softwares all in one place. Let's see what that looks like. So going back to the table that we just built, let's show you this. So now that we found the person that we're looking for, we are now asking our workflow to go and find the official domain and find the person and their email. Subsequently, every email that we choose is going to be double and triple verified. Make sure that it doesn't bounce, because you don't want to send emails to people and then have it bounce back and ruin your reputation. So we use all possible precautions. So now we have successfully enriched and have found emails using several providers, including Find Email, including Data, and using several other providers here. We have Lead Magic, and this is, let's see who the provider here is. Find Work Email, Enroll. That's the provider. All right. So now that we've done this, now naturally we're going to write a message. We don't want to copy the name from the website as is. For example, John Johnson Esquire. We can't address people and say, hey, Mr. John Johnson Esquire. So we are going to use normalization of the name. So we use, again, our ability to use large language models inside various different software. Having your own API key gives you a lot of power and control of what you can do. So we're asking it that you are an expert in data processing with special deep knowledge. You want to convert title cases, capitalize first letter. This is handle names with prefixes by excluding them, just like I mentioned before. And we now ask for an output in a normalized text name. Okay, now we have gone through the full process. We found out the data source. We got the data filtered through Clay. We pushed it to Clay. Now we've enriched the data. We've gotten everybody's real name. We've gotten their email address. We made sure the email doesn't bounce so you don't ruin your reputation. Now we're going to send the messaging directly into a sequencer. In this instance, we're using Instantly. Probably one of the best tools out there. There are many, but this is a fantastic tool with a lot of AI integrations. All right, now for the fun part. And the fun part is we are going to write the messaging, like I said. So let's go to our sequencer here. And here you can see we have written very highly personalized messaging and offering our services. So dear, here's a variable, the case name. As you remember, we want to specify the case we identify. We help attorneys to offload their work. Here is the original message. Then we have some variations to make sure that we don't sound the same across the board. We have step 2 and we have step 3. Usually we don't like to send more than 3 steps, because if they don't see the value in message 1 or 2, 3 probably is not even relevant, but just as a kind of a quick reminder, the attorneys are very busy and typically it's very hard to get them on the phone. But here is a preview of what the message will look like. How's the movement mortgage versus Everett financial case going? So it speaks directly to the case. They see we've done our research. We know when they file the case and they become an attorney of record. And here we can tell them why be $500 an hour if that's what they charge. Administrator here, we let them know that we help companies just like theirs go out and find people quickly. So now we have fully gone through the sequence that we've developed here, an architecture, if you will, that shows you all of the steps that we have taken in order to go through the process. So we've found out how to think out of the box. We identified the data source that we're going to go after, unlike some of the competition of yours that may not have this kind of information. We then filtered the data. We made sure they were going after the companies that and/or attorney and the sizes of the law firms that we are mostly interested in, depending on your taste, your preference, your ICP. We pushed it to Clay. We cleaned it. We massaged it, we hugged it, and then we enriched data. We made sure that we picked out the attorney of record. We made sure that the emails are not going to bounce back so we don't destroy our reputation. We then wrote highly personalized messaging for this specific law firm or staffing company that we may be looking to help. So we're writing all these messages, doing all this research on their behalf, and pushed it into instantly. So here we can see once again that we are able to take data from point A all the way to point Z, I guess, all the way to the end, and creating really, really specialized lead generation systems. Our clients who have used our system have generated hundreds and thousands of leads. They're able to create new conversations and generate at least people that raise their hands. They want to hear more about this on a consistent, periodic basis. Once again, if there's anything here that was unclear, please reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn and you can ask any questions. I will be more than happy to help you. We have helped hundreds of companies generate additional revenue by thinking through the exact proportion and out of the box thinking that was required for your company.